Good evening, Razorback fans. Welcome to the Weekly Women's Sports Report, Season 2, Episode 4. And we're joined this week by the Arkansas Swim and Dive head coach, Neil Harper. Neil, thank you for joining us. Good to talk to you again.
Morty, great to see you. Hopefully a lot of fans are tuning in. Razorback Nation is doing great right now. So thanks for having me on again. Excited to talk to you about our team.
Yes, and hey, what a start it's been. You had your red-white inter-squad scrimmage, and then you start off 2-0 in the SEC. Then you win at Little Rock, and then you fell at Stanford. So you're sitting at 3-1, but more importantly, 2-0 in conference play. And we'll talk about that win at LSU. We were talking beforehand recording, and Hunter Yurchek texting you right after, and the picture that you took with your captain. I mean, just the feeling going to LSU and coming away with that win, just how exhilarating. Because look at the score. It was 151 to 149. So it was a pretty close meet all the way through.
Yeah, it was back and forth. Actually, we got there. We had some adversity. I was going to try and test them a little bit. We actually bust down. We bust the first night. We left after class on Wednesday, and we stopped in Shreveport, and then we got up early the next day and bust on to Baton Rouge and went right to the pool. We warmed up for an hour and a half and then started the competition. So not too many people are excited about that kind of preparation, but 9 hours on the bus, but I wanted to see how tough our ladies were. And we came out and we answered the call. We won 6 of the first 7 events. And to be honest, I thought, wow, this is easy going. They were up for the task and they were excited. And then we had like a diving event, and they've got great divers. Our divers did well, but their divers went 1, 2, 3, and all of a sudden, flipped the score a little bit, and it got close. And then their guys team showed up and was starting to be on the deck and trying to be loud and obnoxious, and then they started riling up their girls a little bit. And so they won the next 2 events, and then we came back and won 3, and then they won 2, and then they won diving again. So it went backwards and forwards. But luckily we had enough points in the bag that, we went 2nd and 3rd in the relay just to make sure and win by a short margin. So that was a great road win. And we got back on the bus happy, came back to Little Rock, swam UALR. I think the other thing that was good was that, the couple of weeks before that we had Kentucky, and a couple of years ago, Kentucky won SEC. So that was going to be a great test for us. And again, our ladies were excited about swimming at the Hyper and, being in front of a home crowd. So we got after it. And so, yeah, it's very exciting to be 2-0 in the SEC. And we were 3-0 before we went to Stanford. So that was going to be, our next challenge.
And talking about going on the road, when we talk about different sports and their road schedule, I think you and tennis share the same kind of, like, you don't get back home until January 13th, I believe.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at the schedule. So, you're talking about busing, and of course, and the exposure that they're not used to is, having the opposing swim teams, men's teams sitting there, and to overcome that. What kind of confidence does that go into? I mean, of course, starting 2-0 in the SEC, but moving forward, now you've got the Tennessee Invite coming up the 15th of November.
Yep. Well, I think, it toughens our ladies up. I think that, in the conference, there's only us and Vanderbilt that have women's only teams. So, when we go to the SECs, every other team has their men's and women's teams there. So they have double the size squads, and that's adversity. But it's something that our women are used to, and something that we've got used to throughout the year. So, going out to Stanford, we flew out there, and they're always a perennial top 5, top 3, in with a chance of winning. So that's a good test for us to see what we can do. There's a lot of gamesmanship too in swimming. People don't know about. Like, obviously in California, it's outdoors. It's like 70 degrees in Palo Alto. If you're in the sun, it feels like 80. If you're in the shade, like they put us in the shade, it felt like 50. And so, it's like gamesmanship, and our girls were freezing and, putting coats on and hats on and still not getting warm. But we went toe to toe with them and did well. And we had some personal bests and we had some season bests. And so we came away a much stronger, better team. And the challenge was good. And we'll be able to, when we go against a Stanford, we'll be able to know that, we can go against the best of the SEC as well. So that's a good challenge. And then obviously, we have a 3-day meet at Tennessee. That's a fall invite. And really that 3 days is kind of a rehearsal for SECs in February. So every swimmer has probably one event a day, their top 3 events. It's a prelims, finals. The other twist is that it's an Olympic year. So Olympic year, we swim, the Olympics are in a 50-meter pool. It's double this. It's the full length of the hyper, but we only usually compete 25 yards. So we're going to do prelims in the morning, long course. So a lot of our ladies will actually have opportunities to make Olympic trial qualifying times.
Awesome.
And then they'll switch the pool at night, and it'll be 25 yards. And so then we'll have a chance to do our NCAA qualifying times at night. So it's going to be a unique event. UVA is the 3-time defending national champions, and they're going to be there. Tennessee is always in the hunt for the SEC and a top 10 team. Kentucky's going to be back there again. So we'll have our hands full. Alabama's another top 20 team that will be there. So our ladies will get full exposure and full competition. And again, we'll not back down from it, and we'll be ready to compete there.
And how much does it mean to the team? You got a couple of SEC honors already in this season, and to see that along with the team success, of course, the teammates, but yet your swimmers getting their individual recognition this early in the season. How much does that also build their confidence moving forward into this invite?
Well, I think anytime that you have someone within your ranks, someone that you live and you swim and you dive and you eat breakfast with and you lift weights with and you do dry land with, that's your sister. Yeah, that's your teammate, and so they fully take credit for pushing that individual to great performances at the weekend. And they realize too that, like, hey, this is my teammate. We hang out in the team room. We hang out in the locker room. We have classes together. So if she can do it, I can do it. We're Razorbacks together. So we enjoy each other's success. And we live through the tough times, and we just push on and gain from our experience. So those are good confidence boosters to know that, fellow Razorbacks can win SEC weekly, titles and recognition. So I think it's good for the program.
And looking at your schedule, you got the Tennessee invite, and then you go U.S. Winter Diving Nationals, USA Open, and then back to college. Is there a different mindset when you're going from college to international back to college? Does that have any kind of effect on the swimmers, or is that just a normal routine deal for the athletes?
Normal routine. I think, swimming is international flavored, and obviously this is the lead up to 2024 Paris. So a lot of, the highest level in our sport is the Olympics and the World Championships. And so, but apart from that, the highest level is NCAA championships. There's so many, like the USA Olympic team will be made up of 80% of it will be athletes that are in college competing for their university teams this year. So it's the pinnacle. We'll be SECs. There'll be several men and women at that meet that will go on this next summer to win gold medals in Paris. So it's the highest level we get to. And it's the toughest. It's deep. And so going to a U.S. Open, going to, a meet that qualifies you for the U.S. Olympic trials, or for us, like, the British or the Italian trials. I mean, we've got a good international flavor. Probably a quarter of our team come from different countries, and their goals are to go back to their Olympic trials and try to make their teams too. So anytime you go U.S. Open and you swim in a long course meet, it's a test and a prep for the whole Olympic year. And so, we're used to that, and we kind of, embrace that, and it just, everything is all inclusive. So it kind of makes for a fun year.
Yeah, that's what I was going to lead into. We talk about, like, playoff Major League Baseball, the Super Bowl, March Madness, getting to see the best out of this collegiate, knowing what's at stake in 2024, getting the best out of all the athletes. I'm sure that's something to see, especially you being in the swim game as long as you have. You get to see some of these players, and then next summer you get to watch them in the Olympics and win gold, knowing that your team has competed against them months earlier.
Yeah, it's amazing. We finally, Anna Hopkins, she got recognized at the last football game for her gold medal in Tokyo. And then, obviously someone like Caleb Dressel, Katie Ledecky, they all competed. They're still part of, the SEC and the SEC history. And so, our athletes get to see them compete, do well, and everything. It just kind of validates all our young ladies and what they do and the SEC that they're in.
And while we wrap up, let's talk about your team, who to look out for. We noticed, again, getting some SEC honors this early, but for those who are just now following the team and want to keep up with the team moving forward, who are some standouts to look forward to in each one of the individual events?
Well, I think first and foremost, we've got a homegrown product, Bella Cawthon. She's from Jonesboro, Arkansas. And, she's homegrown. And if you looked her up 10 years ago, you would have seen her doing age group swimming in Jonesboro and competing all over the state. And she's one that's really made good. She's really come here, got dedicated, been very coachable. And she's a captain again this year. She's a senior. She's still going to hang around for her 5th year next year. So we're excited about that. But she swims the sprint. So the 50 free, which is the dash, and then the 100 free. And then she swims the 100 breaststroke too and 100 fly. So we'll be watching out for her. And then we have another 5th year Italian, Alessia Ferragutti. She swims the 100 and 200 breaststroke. She's won SEC competitor of the week as well. So we have a lot of good senior leadership, junior leadership that have been around, that have really improved in our program over the last 3-4 years. And those are two that we'll watch out for as the year goes on.
Yeah, and that's just, you see your pillars, Betsy, what she's been able to do. At Hopkins, like you said, it's nice seeing. We always, every year, we're looking for the volleyball team's success. And now getting pulled for your squad and your team and watching them be successful. I mean, when we had you on last year, we were talking about, the homegrown, what's it like, trying to get swimmers from Arkansas, and same thing with Coach Watson in volleyball. And it's a rarity to see someone from Arkansas swim at the SEC level. So it's easy when you have that connection to get behind someone and start pulling for your team. And especially when you start off 3-1, it makes it that much more exciting to start jumping on the bandwagon and jump in the pool.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, I want to challenge our Hog fans, as much as you'll be coming to gymnastics on campus and you'll be coming to volleyball and basketball, take a look at the schedule. We usually have 1 or 2 meets in the Hyper in the fall, and then we have usually 1 or 2 meets in the winter in January and early February. So take a look at our schedule, because we'll be swimming Little Rock again, and we'll be swimming Vanderbilt here, and we'll have a couple of other meets. And it's a fun meet. There's a lot of giveaways, and it's nice and warm inside. And you get to watch some of our homegrown athletes and some kids that, our team GPA is like 3.5. They're the ultimate student athlete. They're always out there doing good in the community. There's a good chance that a lot of our young ladies have gone to local schools and read in their classes and stuff. They just do a lot of good stuff. So they're like the girls next door that you would be proud of and you would want to pull for. And you never know. I mean, some of them will be, at the Olympic trials for USA. And also some of those other girls may have a chance of making their Olympic teams for their home teams too. So, you may see in person a homegrown Razorback that, a couple of years back maybe wasn't going to trajectory to that, but this time maybe they'll make it and you'll be pulling for them next summer.
That's right. And another thing, like with some of these, this is it for them at the collegiate level. And you talk about the Olympics and, getting behind the Razorback swimmers and going, because we're talking about the one on January 13th at 3 p.m. We're going to keep up to date on that and really push and see how many fans we can get come to that meet. And you got the one on the 20th at 10 a.m. on Saturday. Both of these are going to be on Saturday. So in January. So it's going to be one of them. Hey, look, you're going to be inside, and we know how January can be in Fayetteville with the ice. Hopefully we can get a bunch of fans packed into the Hyper.
Hunter, Porter, we'll do this. I'll talk to Hunter, but I'm sure if we have someone show up at the meet and they say, hey, I watched you on the podcast with Porter, and I'm here to cheer you guys on. There'll be a T-shirt for that person waiting for them to come in and put on. So we'll make sure they have some Razorback swimming and diving gear on, and they won't be disappointed. There'll be some other giveaways as well.
There we go. You heard it here first. Show up. Tell them you heard it here on the podcast.
Yeah.
On Saturday, January 13th and the 20th, and they'll hook you up with some free gear. Well, Coach, it's always a pleasure. I got to get up to Fayetteville and see you again and chop it up with you again. Come by to practice and see the girls swim. But as always, thank you so much for coming on, and you have a good rest of your evening.
Porter, we appreciate your help, and all the fans out there. Go Hogs. Just keep rooting for the Hogs and be true fans. We love you guys.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
That was Coach Neil Harper. You heard it right here. Show up to the Little Rock meet, the Vanderbilt meet, and hook you up with some Arkansas swim dive. Last year about this time I was doing the polar plunge and in February, polar plunge, and he was nice enough to lend me the swim cap for the polar plunge. And I'll tell you what, it didn't help me one bit because that water was cold. It was Saturday morning, about 41 degrees. The coldest water. I've jumped in creeks before, but man, I'll tell you what, that was a cold pool that I jumped in. But we're going to move on to the news that we've been talking about, some more clarity of the Jersey Wolfenbarger situation. She's not going to play for Arkansas this year. There was more clarity on, once you could put your name in the portal at any time, you can put your name in, but you still got to go through compliance. They have to approve. The portal doesn't open till March 18th. But there's been a lot of negative backlash, of course, with Coach Neighbors, and there's a lot of negative backlash when it comes to Jersey. But you got to realize in this situation, she's not losing any eligibility. She's going to be able to play starting next year and have a full year of eligibility. And so opposed to losing a year of eligibility, jumping in the portal, if you're in a spot where you don't want to be, that's why the portal is good for sports. If you're in a program where your role, you don't want to play that role, or that's not your fit, that's not your game, that's neither Coach Neighbors' fault, that's neither Jersey Wolfenbarger's fault. Find a place where what fits you and where you want to thrive, because you're going to get the best out of Jersey where she's playing, where she wants to play, that fits her style of play. There's just been a lot of, and I know how everything happened yesterday. It was very confusing she entered 25 hours and then pulled her name out. But that was a lot of it was there might have been some understanding on how exactly the portal works. And I'm sure I didn't understand the whole thing of when that 45-day window come about. Just like I said, when we're really thinking about the grand scheme of this year's team, there's going to be some media availability tomorrow for the team. And then, we've been watching practice. This is going to be a very, very deep squad. And this is going to be a very talented squad. A lot of people forget that you got Sasha coming back. You got Sailor back. You've got everybody back. You lost Aaron Bottom to Mississippi State. And, there was a lot of people that was negative on Aaron when she left. Now, when she left, there was a lot of negativity. Well, she wasn't an all SEC this, and she couldn't rebound. But now when this is brought up about Jersey, now people want to throw her back in the pot of, well, see, he lost Aaron and now Jersey's gone. You can't have it both ways when you're critiquing this team. You can't have it both ways. And I understand there's a lot of frustration. I've talked to a couple of people today. There's a lot of frustration with the productivity of this program. And I always go back to the fact that you don't have the true SEC depth to play an SEC schedule. You're going to see those wins over UConn. You're going to see those wins over Baylor. You're going to see those wins over LSU. They've even beat South Carolina in the past. They beat Mississippi State. They've went to the SEC tournament finals. They've made it to the NCAA tournament. And when you have one or two players that you rely on every single game, 35 to 40 minutes, by the time you've played your 35th to 40th game that season, it wears on you. And then you're going into 2 games a week to 2 games in a weekend, or you go from 2 games in a week to you're playing on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if you make it to the tournament finals. A lot of factors that go into what's went on with this past couple years at Arkansas. I'm not making any excuses because I'm right along with that. This is a very important year for this team. I know that the team has to get to the tournament and win some games. This isn't going to be a year where just because they make the tournament, I think they still got to win some games in the tournament. This team is very, very, very talented. They're going to press this year. You're going to see a lot of different aspects of this team, and that's, from my opinion, and what I've seen out of this team and the 5 years that I've been covering the team, with them using this press and seeing how things have played out with this team. And nobody knew that a Jenna Lawrence was going to be able to do what she's been able to do. You've got 2 freshmen that legitimately could start. And Mike Neighbors even said that next week when they start, you're going to see Sam, Talia, and Mac all on the same court at the same time. 3 guards, then 3 legit guards. So you're going to see a different look from this team that you're used to. It's going to be a lot of athleticism. It's going to be a lot of speed, but there's going to be a lot of depth. So there's going to be, where like in the second quarter, they might go through a 4 or 5 minute stretch where they don't score. They've got 2 solid full rotations of where they can score. You're going to see more points. You're going to see less games where they're in the 40s and 50s. And, being able to have that depth, and Adam's joining us right now. Adam, we're talking about the whole Jersey Wolfenbarger situation and you being a Northside guy. I was talking about this team, and that I feel like there's a lot of this being blown out of proportion when it comes to what is being, because she's not losing a year of eligibility. She's going to be able to play a full year next year.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got the vibe during the summer from people close that it was more of a, I mean, I don't like necessarily using the term fitting in the system, but it wasn't panning out, I think, the way that everybody thought. And so, that's when we saw the additions of some people, Sailor, Jenna, people that play similar same positions that have gotten more of the spotlight, more of the playing time. You started seeing the minutes dropping, and that's nothing against Jersey or Neighbors. I mean, that's just the fact of how it was working out.
Well, and the thing is, look, and nobody's, I would just got done mentioning it. Nobody's seen the fact that Jenna was going to come on and be a threat, but I'm telling you, she could start. She could start for almost any team in the SEC. She is a pure scorer, and her and Sailor are built the same. They act the same. They play the same. The only thing is Sailor's hair is a little bit more blonder than Jenna. That is when you see them on the court, it's the same style. And then Sasha coming back. There's a lot of narratives to this team that, and what people are forgetting, and Coach Neighbors had said this a lot, is Jersey didn't stop growing until this past season. You're trying to play a 4 when you're still growing, and then you finally come into and stop growing. They try to put her at a 5 with her and Dowda. And that's the thing. When people say, well, she didn't live up to these expectations or she didn't fit this, there's nothing wrong with that she's going to go somewhere else. She's going to thrive. And the fact that the biggest thing for Jersey's behalf is she's not losing a year of eligibility. She gets to play a full year next year, wherever she chooses, and she gets to do that on March 18th and start looking.
And that's what, as fans, we need to look at is it's not that these players are like leaving us high and dry. Sometimes things just don't pan out.
Yeah.
And so rather than saying, oh, well, bye, or assuming the worst, I mean, it's a business decision. I mean, she's getting to not lose a year of eligibility, and she's going to get to go play somewhere that hopefully she's a shining star, because you wish nothing but the best for them whenever they do go on. And we've seen it work out for some, we've seen it not work out for some, but that's, conversations that her and Coach Neighbors have, I'm sure, had, just like Coach Musselman has had with players that have left that program. So, these coaches aren't just shipping these players off. They're having these conversations of, it's not working out, so I'll do whatever I can to, help you get to where you need to go.
And having these conversations now, yes, it's a week before the season started. And I think that's where all the confusion was and the timing of it. But I think there was a confusion on the portal. She could enter now. go somewhere and play a full year or have to sit out and play next semester. You know, how it's just the timing.
Mhm.
But now she doesn't losing it. But the thing is, this is happening now and not in February, not in crunch time or this is going on and stewing, and then everything comes out after the season. You have a disappointing season, and then this has been stewing. And you know how, I mean, if somebody's unhappy and they start saying on how unhappy they are, it starts moving around the locker room. And that's the thing. I mean, again, nobody's at fault here. And I think with having this type of platform to talk about it and not just be a back and forth on Twitter, social media, it brings context to the situation of knowing this team's going to be okay. Yes, it stings that she's going to, be gone and go play for someone else next year. But I think this team's going to be perfectly fine moving forward, knowing that, okay, she wants to go do her own thing. Arkansas has the depth to sit there and replace her and move forward. It's the best for both parties, as you say, amicable, as Coach Neighbors said.
Yeah, and I mean, hearing from him today was really, I mean, you knew that he would address it, but it was good to hear what he said because, if it wasn't addressed, if it was just she withdrew from the portal, this would be an ongoing, lingering thing that shouldn't be. It shouldn't have to be something that's addressed as the season's progressing. It should, it shouldn't have to be, okay, she withdrew, so is she going to play? Is she not going to, it's cut and dry. She's no longer a part of the team. We can all move forward.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, yes, there's media availability tomorrow. We're going to meet with the team and the players, be able to have free range with the players. So there's going to be more talk about this, I'm sure. But as of me, we talked with Courtney about it last night. We're talking about it today. And this is the last that I'm going to address it because, there's nothing that can be done about it. A week before the season, I want to focus on the season. She's going to focus on developing her game and doing what's best for her moving forward, whether it's being enrolled in school or not, or whatever she wants to do moving forward. I wish her nothing but the best. That's the thing. There's no hard feelings because that's what this portal is about. We love to welcome in the Sashas and the Sailors and Ramirez and Dungies, but if people leave, then they think it's something wrong with the program. Well, we've gotten more players that have impacted this program entering the portal than the people leaving the portal have impacted other teams.
Yeah, the whole portal thing when it comes to fans is kind of a double-edged sword because they embrace who comes in, but at the same time, if you leave, you get a bunch of different reactions, and a lot of those are not pleasant. But we wish her the best. I follow the Northside kids pretty closely on where they go, whether it's Arkansas, whether it's somebody else. And so, I mean, this isn't the last that we're going to see her. Like we've seen in recent history with Arkansas transfers, there's a chance that we see her at an SEC school. We see, that for some reason, that's just the way the cookie crumbles on that we end up seeing them, back in Bud Walton in some way, shape, or form as an opponent.
Yeah. But that's good. I mean, like I said, that's last, of course, if anybody has questions, of course, we'll converse with them, but it's the last that we will talk about it. Season starts next weekend. Arkansas is actually finally, they're playing Florida this Saturday, which we're going to talk about that on Sunday, wrapping up, hopefully talking about a bounce back win, fresh start win. But Adam, I know you come on late at the end of the show and after we talk, but hey, it's one of those things. But hey, another great episode of the Weekly Women's Sports Report. We're going to have another great episode next week, and then we'll catch you on Sunday.
Have a good night.